went to the scene with law enforcement. He's not commenting at all on the fact that the medical examiner's office has been called to this area right now, JB. I'm going to reach out to Northport PD.
Let's do that. Yeah. Do you need me to close your mic, or are you?
You can leave it
Okay.
Text.
So to pick up the thread on what we were just talking about, there's some folks out there, a lot of folks that aren't comfortable having their name and their profile picture featured on a live stream, especially when we have more than 100,000 people watching across all platforms right now. So if you do not want your comment to be featured, don't use the hashtag. If you would like your comment to be featured, your question to be featured, use a hashtag, and then we can pluck it out of the comment section, whether it's Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, one of those three, and we can feature your comment here live on WFLA Now. And let's get to some of the ones that I'm just going to put up a trifecta of comments that are basically asking the same thing. And we know this question is out there. We know what we're talking about here, folks, but this is a question that we can't ignore. Lauren Dolce, hashtag HeyJB, other than a body, why would they call a medical examiner to a scene? Tiffany Hagg, hashtag HeyJB, would a medical examiner be called for anything other than a dead body? Jean Earl Stephan, hashtag HeyJB, why call the medical examiner for articles? Wouldn't there need to be human remains? And we understand that is how, it's only logical to connect those dots. We get that. We understand that. We also have a responsibility here to just report what we are seeing. The answer to that question is a medical examiner would be called to a scene like this, yes, for the discovery of human remains. That is the logical way to approach it. That's the logical way to consider these developments here. But at the same time, we have to be very grounded in fact here, and we don't know could the medical examiner have been called here to the scene procedurally because they feel like that they are close to finding something? Is it just to be on standby for a potential discovery and not a discovery that has already in fact been made? We just don't know. There's so much that could be possible as far as the medical examiner being called here to the scene. Perhaps they want the medical examiner there at the scene to provide any form of expertise. We don't know, but we do know that, yes, the logical thing is to assume, and there's assumptions already going on endlessly on social media, it is only logical to assume that the medical examiner has been called for the discovery of human remains, but we just don't know until we can report that information. Masa.
And we know that the Pasco County Canine unit was back at the scene this morning, 2 units, and we know they have the capability to pick up on human remains. So that is just one factor to consider here. But yeah, I mean, did they find human remains is the first question. We don't know. We just know that the medical examiner has been called out, and we're going to be very careful when we are reporting on this story and any story. And if a body has been discovered, the next step is whose body? I mean, this is a vast area where so many people have access to and have had access to. So those are the questions that we don't have an answer for right now, and we are not going to have an answer. Those are answers that you are going to get from authorities, not from me and not from JB. But what I can tell you is this is just so interesting that all of this is happening the day after the park opened up to the public. All of this is happening just within an hour after the Laundrie family attorney confirmed to me that Chris and Roberta were at the scene today, and they searched some trails, a brief search, and they found, quote, some articles belonging to Brian. So if that is in the end confirmed by law enforcement, then that would indicate that Brian had been there at some point. Was he there on September 13th, as the family has said? What the family's timeline has said, we don't know. We know that Brian had been at this park, according to his Instagram. I had looked at his 66 posts on Instagram. He had had pictures at this park in the past. So this is a place that we know he had been before. So a lot of unanswered questions. The biggest question is what articles of Brian were found. I want to know this tent that has been set up, how far away is it from the entrance? How far away is it from where the Mustang was parked? I want to know on what trail were the articles found? How far away was that from where the Mustang was parked? Because they have done this huge search of the Carlton Reserve, JB, the 24,000 acres. And now we're hearing that things have been discovered not at the Carlton Reserve, but in the smaller adjacent park.
And I want to clarify. I'm going to do this over and over again, and apologies to our audience. It was not articles of clothing. When I originally heard the statement, I thought I heard articles of clothing, and I said articles of clothing. It is just articles. So what that means is an item or objects, items or objects that were found by. We don't know if it was Chris or Roberta or the two of them together. We just don't know who
Or
exactly.
law enforcement with them, they found
Right.
it. We just don't know.
That articles were found, and it is clearly there's now new life here in this search for Brian Laundrie. And this tent that has been set up, Eagle 8 HD is refueling right now. We don't know the reason as to why this tent was set up. If it was just, an area where they would set up a tent just to, to gather and say that this was the area where it was found. Why don't we set up a tent here so we all have an area just to stand or put a table or put a cooler of drinks out, right? I mean, that if this could be, let's just point that out, because everyone is rushing to assume that this tent is concealing, air from our aerial view here, concealing the discovery of something really significant in this search. But this could just be where the belongings, the articles were found, and this could be that area. And they're now, of course, they have to procedurally go through all the steps necessary to determine if there's any other articles in the area. And this is now an active scene that they have to investigate. And that tent just could be procedurally the tent that they put up to near an area that they're actively investigating. So let's all keep that in perspective as to what we're looking at here. A lot more hashtag HJB, hashtag Hey Masa comments here. Tiani here, Lee Morales, hashtag HJB. What are your thoughts about this case? How has it affected you personally? I've talked about this at great length yesterday. Tiana, I can come back to this later on if some more people ask this question, but I'm going to move on to more pressing matters if that's okay, because I've answered that question just so many times. Brooke Turner, hashtag HJB, did they find a body? We have no indication right now from any credible sources of information that they have found a body. And we cannot, of course, we know speculation's out there. We know this question, these 5 words, did they find a body? We know that that's out there. But right now we're just telling you that from local law enforcement, there's no comment right now. And Stephen Bertolino isn't commenting right now on if anything such as a body or human remains have been discovered. Anna, hashtag HJB, hashtag HMasa, where are Chris and Roberta now? We don't know the answer to this question. I think that, those who have been at the house could probably, media that has been parked outside of the house there in Northport would be able to provide more clarity on this question.
I'm looking at Brian Enton's, Brian Enton isn't outside the house either, of course.
Yeah, no, he's here.
People are not going to be outside the Laundrie family home with this much activity happening at the search sites. I don't know. I'm sure some national outlets are still going to be parked out there, but our affiliates, we're not at that scene right now.
Yeah, this might be the most quiet that it's ever been, or at least since this all began, at the home of Chris and Roberta Laundrie, because all of the media attention now is focused here on Myakkahatchee. So I would imagine that if they are at home, if it's Chris and Roberta Laundrie,
I'll be right back.
Sure. If they are peeking out of their blinds right now and looking out of their blinds, they're thinking, wow, that's new. There's few, if anybody, out there. But I would imagine that there's still activity at the house. We do not have a live feed from the house, otherwise I would show it. The one live feed that we have right now is from Myakkahatchee, the entranceway to where you can see there on the left by the sign that the officer is on foot, just ensuring that nobody is allowed access to Myakkahatchee right now. No one can gain entryway to the park itself. So there's the vehicle parked, and this is, again, drastic 180 change from what we had yesterday when the park itself was closed, or reopened, and now it's closed again here today. Back here with you live on WFLA Now. Moss is working the phones. Let's get to some more questions and comments. Stephen Arispi, hashtag HJB. I like the profile picture of the kid there, and it's a great profile picture. Hashtag HJB. Was the tent set up by law enforcement, or was it found that way? No, Jim Hockett, our photojournalist who was in Eagle, said that he saw that tent go up about he said that when he did chime in on the radio, it was 5 minutes prior to that, but he said that he saw it go up. So it was set up, as we understand it, by law enforcement. It was not found that way. There's no way that this tent has been there for an extended period of time, if that's what you're asking, Stephen. We have flown over this area multiple times. We've never seen this tent set up. I've never seen it, a tent set up like that here at Myakkahatchee. Masa, you're back? Let's get to this question from Norma Ion, #AJB. How far is this location from the other place they were initially searching? So let's break this down. The Carlton Reserve and the reserve itself, 25,000 acres. And there's the west side and the east side that police have been focusing their attention on. The west side is closer to Venice. That is the Carlton Reserve entrance. The right side is here. The east side, if you will, is Myakkahatchee. This is where the Ford Mustang was discovered. This is closer to Northport, but we have seen, Norma, a ping-ponging back and forth over the last month plus of law enforcement attention here on the Myakka side, and then on the Carlton Reserve side closer to Venice. Venice closer to the actual Gulf Coast of Florida, our beautiful beaches here in Florida. This is more inland, and it's I don't have an exact mileage count. I did at one point. It was in my notes. I don't have those notes in front of me at this moment, but it's a 25,000 acre swath of land, and it's not that close. They're opposing ends of this same vast swampy wetland here in rural Sarasota County, Florida.
And I did just get some information from Heather. She contacted Pasco County Sheriff's Office, and they said, quote, Northport PD has once again requested a human remains detection canine to assist with the search today. We sent one canine team and 2 spotters to ensure the safety of the team during the search. And so they are just confirming that they did, in fact, send a canine with the capability to detect human remains. That's the Pasco County Sheriff's Office. Just wanted to give you that bit of information.
Yeah, and it's helpful, of course, to any thread of information that we get from law enforcement, even if it tells us very little, is extremely important. And yes, it was last week that the Pasco County Canine Human Remains Unit was here and part of the search efforts here for Brian Laundrie. And this, again, could be procedural or was something discovered. We just don't know until we have it credibly from law enforcement, or if Stephen Bertolino cares to follow up with another text message where he reveals more than what the public knows at this stage of where we are.
But to give you a little bit of context, this is something that started on September 13th when Brian Laundrie decided to just leave his home and head over to this park his Mustang and go for a hike, and he never returned. And here we are more than a month later, and significant developments in this case that we are following for you this morning. The park being closed back up right after it was opened up. Chris and Roberta Laundrie, the parents of fugitive Brian Laundrie, wanted in connection to the Gabby Petito case. The parents showing back up this morning to the Myakkahatchee Creek Environmental Park and doing a brief search, according to the Laundrie family attorney, and finding something incredibly significant, something that we have not seen to date, discovering, quote, articles belonging to Brian Laundrie. And right after that, we find out that the Sarasota County Medical Examiner's Office has also been called to the scene. So that would be 1 month and 7 days since Brian Laundrie reportedly left his home, and about 2 months into this story that we've been following so carefully, JB.
Without question, there's been more developments today than there have been in weeks combined. As far the entire month of October, there's been more today here in Florida than there has been in the previous 19 days combined.
100%.
And what's really interesting about this is that more than at any point, hold on, got to mute Mike's. Sorry. Also, you'll see tonight on WFLA News Channel 8 is basically the announcement
Yep,
that was just made to the newsroom.
Yep, I'm on at 4, 5, and 6. Yep.
Yep. So, and I want to make this clear that this is yesterday in particular. I remember going through. I make the rounds as far as just seeing what people are saying on the Gabby Petito subreddit. I make the rounds. I check in with my friends over at the Discord. Gabby, I try to be, WFLA now, as far as just how we bring in your comments on social media and how we pay very close attention to what people are saying on social media. That's not exclusive to Facebook or Instagram or Twitter or YouTube. We want to comb through all of them. And there's really 7 platforms. I know it sounds crazy, but I do try to make the rounds on these 7 platforms. Let's see if I can remember them. It's Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Instagram, Discord, Reddit, and TikTok. Those are the 7. And I'm always checking to see what people are saying and what the chatter is like out there. And also, too, it helps me. I'm more informed of a digital anchor if I can address some of the questions that are out there. If people are asking things, I want to be able to talk about them on our stream. Our stream is more valuable to you if I'm more knowledgeable as to what you're saying out there. And I make these rounds, and more than at any point, I would say that yesterday, when they reopened the Carlton Reserve, and this area was reopened to the public, there was just this overwhelming sense of, are we ever going to find Brian? Is Brian ever going to be found? Is this it? Is this the end of of the hope that we have been holding on to for so long, that Brian Laundrie was going to be found and that there was going to be justice for Gabby Petito? Again, now that's based on, again, Brian Laundrie is the sole person of interest. He's not a suspect in her homicide as we know it here publicly from the FBI. He is a person of interest. And yes, he's wanted on the federal arrest warrant for using the credit card, or the debit card. We get that. But there have just been so many people that have been chiming in, Masa, across social media platforms, really losing hope, especially over the last 36 hours. I've noted it. And here we are today with more developments that we have had in a 5-hour period than we have in really the last 3 weeks combined.
More developments since, I would say, September 19th, when remains were found in Wyoming, and October 12th, when the medical examiner, I believe that was the date, told us that the cause of death for Gabby Petito was manual strangulation, throttling. Yeah. So regardless of what ends up happening, we don't know why the medical examiner was called. Again, we don't know, one, if in fact human remains were found. We know that the Pasco County Human Remains Detection Dog was at the scene today, and we know that the Sarasota County Medical Examiner's office was called to the scene after that by Northport PD. So you can make any conclusions that you would like to there. We're not going to get ahead of law enforcement on any of that. But this day, October 20th, is definitely going to be significant regardless of what happens with the Sarasota County Medical Examiner being on that scene, because this is the day that some articles belonging to Brian Laundrie were found. We've been, the whole country has been looking for Brian Laundrie. Multiple law enforcement agencies, multiple states, multiple days, searching for this 23-year-old fugitive. And here we are. Today is the first time that there was a sign of him. If you're going to, not from law enforcement, but according to the attorney, today is the first day that there was a sign of Brian Laundrie. The attorney saying some articles belonging to Brian were found at a trail after a brief search, a search that his parents initiated this morning and that law enforcement was a part of. So October 20th is another significant day in this investigation, JB.
Do you have a better vantage point from your seat where you're sitting? Do you see, is Walt in his office?
He is not.
Okay. Mm-hmm. There's a question that really only Walt can answer, and I'll try to see if maybe, again, Walt Buteau, one of our investigators here on the 8 on Your Side team, when he's back, the question that came in from Katie and other questions like Katie's, I will answer that.
What is the question?
All right, I'll just throw it. I'll throw it up here on screen. So there was a psychic that.
Oh, I know about this.
Okay, there was a psychic
that was on Monday.
Right, but then I ran into Walt yesterday as we were, and he actually said that no, technically it was Tuesday, but I can't ignore all of the comments that are coming through about the okay, and this goes back to some of our earliest streams on WFLA Now, and there was a psychic who had
I have that email,
and Walt had mentioned on stream, and he mentioned it, that there was that 28 days afterwards that that Brian Laundrie was going to be, and I think that would have been either, depending on the time frame, that would have been either Monday night or into Tuesday morning. And so I just want to address it. I know that there's a lot of folks out there that are asking this question, and I just want to address it. So today is Wednesday, October 20th. And I believe that original piece of information, that person came through and informed Walt that it would be late Monday or early Tuesday based on that 24-hour window, and it would be near a body of water, which actually interesting to me here. First of all, to say that in Florida, there's bodies of water all over the place. There's a town in Florida called Land O'Lakes. That's how many bodies of water that we have here in Florida. But just on that note here for 1 second, the water has receded so considerably here that I haven't seen much water in this one particular spot from Eagle 8 HD, and we hope to get Eagle back in the air. The water has receded so significantly. The rainfall has been so less frequent across the month of October than we had in September, and that I'm sure has been advantageous for law enforcement officials searching this area.
Yeah, and I'm going to briefly address the psychic comment before completely moving past it.
Yeah,
but
since
people are bringing it up, Walt did tell me about this, and he said that the message was sent to him on September 21st. So he said that the discovery would have been made on the 18th or the 19th. So now's the 20th. So the psychic isn't even right, and we can just move on.
Yeah, and that's and we can move on to some of the questions and comments that are coming in. Okay, let's get to this one. Right on cue, Marianne Bow, #HJB, #HeyMasa. It hasn't rained in a couple of weeks, and a lot of the water is gone. And that's, I mean, yeah. Now, folks in Florida that know, that know, and they just know because they have a green thumb, you can even look here at some of the grass, and you can just see the coloration of the grass, and it's very clear here, even from me, and I don't have a green thumb, that here in Florida, it hasn't rained much in this area, just based on what we're seeing here from this particular vantage point. And it's true. We just haven't had that significant rainfall here in the month of October. And this is good. This is good for the search, because the more swampy and wet that it is, there's more vehicles here that are arriving here and checking in with law enforcement there.
And that is a protester. I recognize that man. That is the protester that had spoken with Cassie Laundrie. So the two people that you're seeing that are filming everything, these are two people that have been very closely following the case, basically on the scene nearly every day.
Volunteer member of law enforcement pulling up here to the scene as well. And yes, Marianne, you're right on the money. Hasn't rained in a while, and if it has, it's been virtually non-existent. It's just been really a passing shower. There hasn't been significant rainfall totals, and this aids the search for Brian Laundrie without question. CN, oh yeah, do you want to mention something?
I just want to mention, the fact that law enforcement yesterday on October 19th determined that they were going to open the Myakkahatchee Creek Environmental Park, Myakkahatchee Creek Environmental Park, the fact that they determined they were going to open this back up to the public, I mean, that is huge, because obviously they thought that they were done with that scene. They wanted to let everybody from the public back in. They would have access to that scene. To find out the very next day that all these developments are happening, that some articles of Brian were found at that exact scene, that's just interesting, because I don't think, obviously, they were going to open up this scene to the public as they did yesterday, had they known that articles belonging to Brian were still at that scene. And those articles being discovered this morning after a brief search by the Laundrie parents, according to the Laundrie family attorney, during a brief search.
Let's get to that next comment here on, we'll keep this shot up because we're seeing considerable law enforcement activity here. So let's keep it up in the center of our screen live on WFLA Now. Again, 8 on your side, investigator Masa Saidi, pulling a little bit of overtime here with us on WFLA Now. I'm JB Buno, digital anchor for WFLA Now, and we'll continue to feature interactively your comments here using hashtag HeyJB and hashtag Hey Masa. Hashtag Hey Masa, question for you. Cien Arens, was the park surveilled last night? I'm worried Laundrie may have claimed another victim to steal their vehicle. First and foremost, we have zero. We understand that might be a worry for you, Sam, but there is zero indication whatsoever that is even right, Masa. I mean,
I don't understand the question.
Well, why don't we focus on the question? The question is, was the park surveilled last night?
The park was opened back up to the public yesterday. Could they have done secret surveillance on it after opening it back up? I mean, sure. We don't have any knowledge of any surveillance being conducted at the Makahatchee Creek Environmental Park, but I think what she's getting at is, oh, did somebody sneak back on and do something they shouldn't? I think that's what she is getting at, but we don't have any information on whether law enforcement set up secret surveillance outside of the Makahatchee Creek Environmental Park. I would venture to say probably not, since they reopened the park back up to the public. I think it's safe to assume that they thought their work there was done because they were not treating it as a scene anymore that needs to be protected. They determined they were going to open it back up to the public, and they did yesterday, only to close it back up just hours later.
And to the second part of this comment, there's no indication right now, there's no evidence that we know of in an official capacity that Brian Laundrie has committed a violent act. And to suggest that he would then commit a second violent act, there's just so many people out there that I understand that you have your beliefs, but you have to also do your very best.
I see what she's saying now. I am so
we have
slow.
we have to encourage people to stay, as I say it, rooted in reality here. And we understand how easy it is with a story like this to connect dots. And connecting dots is an easy thing to do because sometimes it can feel so blatantly obvious, but we have to go on based on what we know from credible sources of information. Right now, Brian Laundrie is a person of interest in her homicide, hasn't been named as a suspect.
Yeah, I'd like to say in the case, not in the homicide. Yeah.
Right.
It's a person of interest.
It's the person of interest.
Because they made that announcement when she was just a missing person. So he is just a person of interest in the Gabby Petito investigation, and he is wanted for bank card fraud. People get very upset every time I say that, but that is what the facts are. And again, we are not going to get ahead of law enforcement and make any other.
He is a person of interest in an FBI-led criminal investigation.
You could say that.
Yeah.
Yes, you can.
And we understand how easy it is to jump to various conclusions and jump to even conclusions beyond that are not rooted in reality, that are
this is a conclusion that is not even obvious. Right?
And it's not to come down on the commenter in any which way, shape, or form. It's just it's an opportunity for us to remind you that you have to stay rooted in reality. Jacqueline Neely, hashtag HJB, possibility of the parents being involved with planting clothing or personal belongings of Brian. This is there's just too many comments like this one. We can't ignore this comment. There are people on social media that are wondering if there was any chance that the belongings, the articles that were discovered here weren't just discovered, that they were put there with nefarious intention. And there's no evidence to suggest that. And I know that there is going to be endless conspiracy theories online. Yes, the park was open yesterday. Yes, the park was open this morning. Yes, Chris and Roberta Laundrie were back here at the reserve. We know how easy it is to connect those dots, but it doesn't mean that you should. And we know that this question is out there. What's within the realm of possible? So much is within the realm of possible. But to Jacqueline, you're not the only one asking this question. I appreciate the fact that you've asked it, but it's just not something that we can really address because there's just no information here that we can use to properly answer it.
I can say this. I can say that law enforcement, that Chris and Roberta Laundrie notified law enforcement they were going to go back out to the scene, and the FBI and Northport PD, they were with Chris and Roberta Laundrie as they did their, quote, brief search, and that's when the articles were found. That's all we can say. Those are the facts.
Facts of the case. Nicole Capozzo, hashtag HJB. Maybe Brian was injured and they found evidence of that. Is there a chance that there was something discovered that leads law enforcement to think that Brian was in that spot, injured?
We know Brian apparently was in this area, according to the text from the attorney. They found articles belonging to him. And that is, I would say, as of right now, that is the most significant thing about this date, October 20th.
We don't know the date of when these articles were discarded or
True.
dropped, or
Very true.
we don't. Is there the chance that those articles, as Stephen Bertolino puts it, were from a hiking trip well before July?
Sure could be, based on his text. It sure could be.
Yep.
That's a fact.
And now all of a sudden,
we don't know the time frame.
Could Brian Laundrie have been here in the spring, dropped something or dropped some things, because we know it's plural articles, and now with the water receding as much as it has, could these items have now been discovered? Sure, all within the realm of possible, but we just don't know. We are going by one statement released by one attorney,
A detailed statement,
detailed, but representing the Laundrie family, and so it's just not from law enforcement. And until we have information from law enforcement, we have to always preface this by saying that this information is coming from Stephen Bertolino. Tracy Cabrera, hashtag Hey Masa, wouldn't it be a waste of resources to send a medical examiner out for a maybe?
Oh, I just got a text from somebody. What was that? I'm sorry.
No,
wouldn't that be a waste of a resource? No, absolutely not. Listen, this is such
not with a story of this magnitude,
or of any. I think any criminal investigation, anytime that law enforcement feels the need to call the medical examiner to try to confirm whatever it is that they may have discovered, whether it be animal remains, whether it potentially be human remains, so much time. So many resources have gone into this investigation. So I think this is just people being so desperate to try to get more information. And, all we can tell you is that the medical examiner was called out by Northport PD. And we can also tell you that Pasco County had their human detection dog at this scene earlier today. And those are the only facts that we have. But no, it wouldn't be a waste of a resource to just send them out to check something out.
Thank you for your question, Tracy. Sharon Miola, hashtag KJB. Let's go back to the video of the tent. Has water receded where this tent is now? Water is receded everywhere across this, pretty much virtually the entire 25,000 acre reserve. The entirety of this area has seen considerably less rainfall than what we saw in September.
Much cooler temperatures now as well.
Oh, yeah.
We had our fall here in Florida.
Yep. And it's certainly, these are more optimal conditions to search when the water has receded, when it's not as blazingly hot. It's just easier. You can see that, law enforcement are here, and I can assure you that is much more comfortable out there today than it was a month ago in September.
And you just made me think of something, JB, because one of the biggest questions that I had is, September 14th, Chris and Roberta looked at these trails that Brian loved. We know that nearly 2 weeks ago tomorrow, Chris Laundrie was back looking at the trails in this area that Brian loved and Brian frequented. So my biggest question has been, why did Chris and Roberta come out to the scene today after a quote brief search, make this discovery now? And maybe it's what JB just said. Maybe the water has receded. Maybe this is an area that was covered by the water before. We just don't know. But certainly that is one possible explanation into why are we just now, according to the Laundrie family attorney, finding quote articles belonging to Brian, when this is an area that has been searched over and over again, from above, from below. by multiple law enforcement agencies. And maybe it is the weather, the water receding. Who knows?
Let's get to this question from Brooke. Brooke Vance, hashtag HeyJB, hashtag HeyMasa. Could Bryant's parents have put the stuff there that they found? Yeah, so we just addressed it in the previous comment. Let's get to Lisa White, hashtag HeyJB, hashtag HeyMasa. Could this area been underwater when they originally started the search? Yeah, I think that we're starting to see some similar thread and pattern of questions here.
Yep.
Jonathan Aker, hashtag HeyJB. Can you confirm if the laundries have been called back to the reserve as reported elsewhere? Masa, you want to?
Yeah, so actually I am, I don't want to give too much information because of my source, but there is, people outside the scene told me that Roberta has, come out dressed up. So she is still at the house, according to one source that I have at the scene right
Okay,
now.
so
she's at the house. Right
yeah,
now,
but to the question here,
Mhm.
been called back to the reserve as reported elsewhere.
I don't know where that, Jonathan, if you could tell us, who is reporting that and who they are attributing it.
And we don't know if Jonathan's comment here was pertaining to when we originally said that they were back at the reserve as of
This morning.
As
They
of
were
this
back up
morning,
this
that
morning.
was
Yep.
them coming back.
Mhm.
So that's what this commenter might be referencing.
And they weren't called. And so this morning, they weren't called back out to the reserve. This morning, they went to the reserve and they had notified law enforcement last night that they wanted to go back to not the reserve, the Myakkahatchee Creek Environmental Park. So I think what he was asking is, were they called there? And our clarification for you is, according to the Laundrie family attorney, they wanted to go back there. And that's when they made their discovery of the articles belonging to Brian. And then after that is when the medical examiner's office was called by Northport PD.
Checking in on just some, let's show you back here. No new vehicle activity. But again, if you're just joining us, the medical examiner has been called to the laundry search area. And we say has been called to the laundry search area. Masa, perhaps it's worth, just checking in to see with the same law enforcement that gave us that information previously, if the medical examiner has arrived here on the scene. And as right on cue, it feels like every time I go to this shot, another vehicle pulls through.
Right.
And we see all these vehicles pulling through. Any one of these could be workers or a worker or the medical examiner for Sarasota County. So we don't, as I mentioned earlier, it's not all that too normal for there to be an official marked medical examiner's vehicle with a particular medical examiner's office. A lot of the time they do transportation in unmarked vehicles. So it is entirely possible that the medical examiner is already here at the scene. Sarasota County isn't that large. We've been talking about this piece of information now for the last hour plus. And
you know what's kind of very significant, though? The fact that they just keep coming in. There's vehicle after vehicle.
And the Lee County Mobile Command Unit was strange.
I'm not exactly, how far away is Lee County?
Let's get an idea as to like mileage here. I'm going to give everybody a mileage count.
It could be that they just have a nice spacious mobile command center. Who knows? But the fact that we have agencies from surrounding areas all coming back out today to the Myakkahatchee Creek Environmental Park. Again, I cannot stress this enough. Just hours after law enforcement determined, hey, we're done here, this can open back up to the public, it closed again. Because Chris and Roberta Laundrie decided they wanted to come back out and look for Brian this morning, and they did. And they were joined by the FBI and Northport PD, according to Stephen Bertolino. So that's just extremely significant to me. And the fact that we are just seeing agency after agency arriving to that scene. Are they going there because, we know that articles belonging to Brian were found, but was something else found as well? That's the question. That's the question we have, based on the fact that the Pasco County has sent one canine capable of detecting human remains, and the Sarasota County Medical Examiner's Office has been called to the scene. So that is the natural question that we have next.
All right, looking here at some new information coming in, and it's pertaining to Okay, hold on. I'll get to the new information in just a second. Let me just explain. It's not breaking information. It's just new information about Eagle.
Okay.
So let me just explain the county map, so to speak. So Sarasota County, of course, on the Gulf Coast side of Florida, Central Florida, but the west side, Gulf Coast side of Florida. So it goes Sarasota County. To the south of that is Charlotte County. One more county down is Lee County. Now, Lee County has Fort Myers in it. That's where Fort Myers is located. It's about from Fort Myers, about an hour drive. Let's say an hour drive from Fort Myers to Myakkahatchee Creek Environmental Park. So it would be about an hour for you to get that mobile, and it's actually like 55 minutes. But given that you're hauling a massive mobile command unit, that's not as quick as the average vehicle. I would say we'll just say an hour to get from Lee County to Myakkahatchee. And let me explain why Lee County was likely brought in over, let's say, a different county such as Charlotte County or Glades County or DeSoto County. The reason being is because certain sheriff's offices and certain law enforcement agencies in Florida have more resources and they are more equipped for a scenario like this. And Lee County being a more populated county than some of the others I just mentioned, it is very likely that they reached out to Lee County specifically because they knew that they had a mobile command unit that was equipped to handle a scene like this. So that's why. But we also had, there's multiple command units there,
right,
at the scene. Okay, back to the Eagle 8 HD update. Adrienne, Elizabeth, #AJB. Any word on Eagle 8 HD and when he'll be back in the air? We have been told, and let me just have this 100% right with Eagle. Eagle is refueling right now, and Eagle 8 HD will be back up at 2:30 Eastern time.
Okay.
2:30 Eastern.
We're really going to appreciate having that vantage point from the air again, but I'm getting some tweets right now asking us to recap just the very basics of what has happened today. October 19th, yesterday, the Myakkahatchee Creek Environmental Park reopened back up to the public after being closed down for nearly a month as multiple agencies searched for fugitive Brian Laundrie. Chris and Roberta Laundrie last night apparently notified law enforcement that they wanted to go back out and to look for Brian today. And that is why we saw a large law enforcement presence back at the Myakkahatchee Creek Environmental Park. Our Allison Henning showing up to the scene, just being confused as to why it was closed down again. The attorney then confirming to me, the Laundrie family attorney, that some articles belonging to Brian were found after a brief search. And then after that, we learned that the medical examiner's office has been called out by Northport Police. And we saw, I don't know when at this point, but an hour ago, more than an hour ago, we saw this white tent being placed. And it's unclear as to why that tent has been placed, whether that's part of a command center or whether that has been placed to, because there's evidence was recovered nearby. But I just had a thought, JB. I think the fact that there was, didn't we see multiple tables? The fact that we saw tables and
I think it was at least one table.
Okay.
One table.
I feel like if this was evidence underneath that tent that they wouldn't roll a table into it, but maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. But again, significant developments. That's what we have seen. And October 20th is the day that, according to today, the Laundrie family attorney, that articles belonging to Brian were found. And this is really the first sign we've had. I mean, it feels like Brian Laundrie just vanished, disappeared, according to his parents, on September 13th. And despite the fact that the entire country has been looking for him, there has been no sign of Brian Laundrie. And here today, just a few hours ago, I was able to confirm that articles belonging to Brian were found. So significant.
Significant to say the least. We are very much looking forward. This is looped video, clearly, but very much looking forward to having Eagle 8 HD back in the air. It will be around 2:30. It's about 50 minutes or so from now. If we have any updates, we'll, of course, if we can get Eagle 8 HD back up in the air sooner, we will absolutely do so. I know that there's a lot of folks out there that are looking for fresh aerials. Believe me, I'm looking for fresh aerials, wanting to see exactly what is going on right now on the ground. With the amount of activity that is going on here, it's it's going to be fascinating to see where that Lee County Mobile Command Unit went, how close that is to this area, to the Mobile Command Unit for Northport, how close it is right to this tent. So but what we're going to do now here, everybody, what we're going to do over the next, Moss is working the phones, our entire team. I wish that everybody could see my vantage point here. We're all working the phones, calling everyone we know, trying to get information. We are equipped here to, of course, handle a story like this because we're in Florida. We're in Tampa Bay. This is the Tampa Bay coverage area. So we know who to contact.
This is our backyard.
We have the Rolodex ready to go. Yeah, it's literally our backyard. And we know a lot of the folks that are actively participating here as far as law enforcement. So we're working the phones, and anything that we can pass along to you here, we are going to. And Masa, you see her eyes looking down? Yeah, she's looking down because she's working the phones right now.
Well, I wanted to let our viewers know that Heather Monahan, she's our digital content producer, a real superstar. She's obviously also working this case for us right now. She has reached out to Josh Taylor, and she said that, acknowledged that we know that Northport is not the lead agency on this case, but she asked if he could provide any kind of comment on the activity at the site of the Bryan Laundrie search today. Obviously, she mentioned how the Sarasota County medical examiner said they were called out by Northport PD to the scene. And so Heather is asking for additional information. We just want you to know that we are doing everything on our end to try to get you facts about what's happening here. But so far, all we heard from Northport PD was the search is on, and we'll let you know if there's a significant development. But it does feel like there has been, he didn't say significant development, the words that Josh Taylor from Northport PD had for Allison Henning. He said if there's anything of note, we're going to let everyone know at the same time. But I would argue, calling the medical examiner is something of note. And that is we are once again reaching out to the Northport Police Department, trying to understand what more information they can tell us about why they called out the Sarasota County Medical Examiner's office a short time ago.
What I'd like to do now is feature some more comments. You can use hashtag HeyJB. You can use hashtag HeyMasa. Thank you. Thank you. We're going to feature more of your hashtag HeyJB, hashtag HeyMasa questions and comments, and a lot of live streams would be going off right now, or we're going to stay with you, and it would be very normal for us in other circumstances to just end this stream and start a new one when Eagle 8 HD is back in the air. We're not going to do that. We're going to stay here with you live on WFLA now while we're waiting for new information to come in, while we're waiting on breaking developments, while we're waiting for Eagle to get back over Myakkahatchee. What we'll do is we'll feature some more of your questions and comments that are coming in now using hashtag HeyJB, hashtag HeyMasa. And if you were with us on our stream yesterday, you saw too that we are also taking video questions, putting a face to our audience, our audience watching really from around the world. And what we're going to do now is we're going to feature some of the video questions that have been coming in, how you submit a video question. Let me just put this out there. You send it to the WFLA JB Facebook page. I can then take them from there, make sure that they don't contain any inappropriate language or anything that is way out there in left field, make sure that they are good for stream. We can take them from there, and then we can feature them here on our interactive WFLA Now live stream. But let me just caution our viewers, these questions that we had preloaded into our stream for today were before all of these developments. So you're going to be seeing video questions come in from likely yesterday or early this morning. So we'll feature the first question. Let me see the first question in our queue and as far as video questions go. And this one comes in from Whitney. Let's get to Whitney's video comment to the WFLA JB Facebook page.
Hey JB, my name is Whitney Sitch, and I'm with the True Crime Sisters, and we have a Facebook group called Justice for Gabby Petito. My question today is, how do you respond to people who think that the case is already going cold?
So there you have it. I just, Masa, do you have your earpiece in? Were you able to hear that?
I did.
Okay,
Listen to
good.
everything.
So
Yeah.
I only chuckle because that's a perfect example of a question that would have been asked yesterday and not today, because this is anything but a cold case here today. But it goes to show, Masa, that Whitney and so many others, and she's part of a group online that that focused on the Justice for Gabby Petito movement, that what a difference 24 hours make.
Right.
Yesterday, talking about this case going cold, here we are today with the medical examiner's office being called here, multiple mobile command units, the articles that have been found here,
Belonging to Brian, yeah.
according to Stephen Bertolino. What a difference 24 hours makes.
Yeah, I mean, we're used to, on this case, very fast, quick developments, and certainly a huge difference in 24 hours. Again, I go back to the fact that law enforcement determined that they were, by their actions, they signaled that they were done with this scene because they opened it back up to the public. And you know, JB, if you're searching a scene, if there is a crime scene, the first thing you do is you put up yellow tape and you make sure that the public doesn't have access to that scene. You don't want people messing with the scene. You don't want people touching potential evidence, altering potential evidence. But the fact that yesterday they officially opened this park back up after it was closed down for nearly a month, a lot of people, as you just heard, thought that the case had maybe gone cold. And now, according to the Laundrie family attorney, articles belonging to Brian were found at the exact place that law enforcement opened back up to the public yesterday. And obviously, you see the banner right there on your screen. Medical examiner called to the Laundrie search area, something that we have not seen in this story that really started on September 11th, when Gabby Petito was reported missing by her mother. Then on September 13th, just 2 days after that, Brian Laundrie left to go for a hike. He didn't come home. On September 14th, according to the Laundrie family attorney, the parents went to the Myakkahatchee Creek Environmental Park to look for Brian Laundrie, didn't find him. September 15th, they went back and they retrieved the Mustang. They took the Mustang home. On September 17th, they reported to law enforcement that Brian Laundrie was missing. And up until then, Northport Police Department had told us that they knew where Brian Laundrie was, but that was huge. September 17th, September 19th, 2 days after that, all these dates that we've just all memorized, JB, by now. Remains found at Bridger Teton National Park out there in western Wyoming, not positively ID'd to be Gabby Petito, but I think the day of the autopsy, 2 days later, a Tuesday, positively ID'd to be Gabby Petito. Her death, the manner of death was determined to be a homicide. And I believe it was October 12th that Dr. Brent Blue, the coroner from Teton County, determined that she had been strangled to death, throttling, manual strangulation. And then yesterday, one search area opening back up to the public, a significant development. Many people, again, reaching out to JB, wondering if this case had gone cold. And today we find out that for the first time in this long, multi-state, multi-agency search, articles belonging to Brian were found. So just wait and see. At this point, JB, I'm going to be with you for another 15 minutes. And my understanding is that our other investigative reporter, Walt Bateau, is going to come join you. We're going to have team coverage for you on Channel 8 here in Tampa, Florida, WFLA TV. I'll be on with Allison Henning at 4, 5, and 6. We have our Nico Clemens on the story. And do you know if you want to mute that?
No, let me just I'll share exactly what the announcement is to our newsroom. We are very well aware that there's another media outlet reporting that the coroner is at the scene. We're very well aware of the other reporting that is going on. We have not been able to independently ourselves confirm that. When we do, we will pass it along here to you. But to the comment section lighting up saying that this media outlet is reporting this information, I get it, totally get it. But we have to confirm it here ourselves. We have a thorough process. I was asked this question over the weekend as far as the process that we go through to confirm information. And we're going through that process right now. And until we can, report that information, we're just going to not do so. So It's something that's very much on our radar. We know what's happening out there, folks. I'm surrounded by 7 screens for good reason. And when we have that information to share, we will absolutely do so. Let's get to, how about Masa, would you like to get to the next
Yes,
video
sir.
question?
Whatever you'd like.
Hey JB, hey Josh, my name's Casey, I'm from Boston. I've been following this case since day one. And I know it's relatively impossible for there to be a bunker underneath the house or the shed, considering it's Florida and everything, but I was just wondering, is there a chance they might inspect the possibility?
You want to go first?
So yeah,
Thank you to Casey for that question. I very much appreciate it, because there was a lot of questions about the backyard and about the garden bed, and Chris and Roberta Laundrie being seen via drone video, paying a lot of attention to the garden bed there in the backyard. But Masa, if you'd like to go first.
I mean, all I will say is that we observed, I don't have the date in front of me, but September something, the FBI conducting a search of the Laundrie family home. They were going in, they were coming out, they were bringing out evidence from the house. So I would imagine they would have noticed if there was a doorway or, you know, a bunker or anything like that. So my answer to that question is I would not believe that there was any such thing. But thank you so much for your question, Cassie.
All right, folks, getting in some new information. Folks, we are going to be back in 90 seconds. 90 seconds on WFLA Now with a breaking news update. Don't go anywhere.
I wonder what this breaking news are going to give us when they come back. My heart is pounding. Thank you guys all for being here with me. This was not planned, obviously. I don't know if you guys could even hear me, but just thank you guys for being here with me. Oh boy, let's see what this is going to be. Oh gosh. I personally want Brian to be alive because I want him to answer for all this bullshit. He needs to answer for it. So if they find him deceased, I know, Kimbers, you don't really realize how 90 minutes.
WFLA Now will begin momentarily.
What I was saying was I just want to thank you guys for being here, and this 90 seconds better hurry up because it's taking forever.
WFLA Now will begin momentarily. Breaking news on WFLA Now. Here is JB Buno.
Partial human remains found here in the search area for Brian Laundrie. A senior law enforcement official telling NBC News that what appears to be partial human remains have been found at the Carlton Reserve in an area that was previously underwater. The remains were found near a backpack consistent with items that Brian Laundrie may have used. Again, this breaking news report coming from NBC News. Hey folks, JB Buno here with you live on WFLA Now, breaking this news here to a new audience joining us here. Everybody on WFLA Now, we've been live for now, let's just have the number here right, last 2 hours and about 15 minutes or so. But yet another significant development. It is news that that is going to be received by so many different people in so many different ways. But it's news that might get us a little bit closer to the answer on what happened to Brian Laundrie. Partial human remains found in the Laundrie search area We are getting closer to Eagle 8 HD being back in the air and providing us with new images here, new live aerial video that we can bring you. But partial human remains have been found in the laundry search area. And Masa, the big thing here as well is that in addition to the partial human remains, this backpack that we're now getting information on, the remains were found near a backpack consistent with items that Brian Laundrie may have used.
Yeah, and this is according to reporting from Pete Williams from NBC. So a senior reporter, a very well-sourced reporter, and he has confirmed with a senior law enforcement official that the remains were found near a backpack, as JB just said, consistent with items that Brian Laundrie may have had. So we know from our reporting that Chris and Roberta Laundrie discovered, quote, articles belonging to Brian Laundrie. We weren't able to get any further information from Stephen Bertolino about what those articles may have been. But now we have Pete Williams from NBC talking with a senior law enforcement official and basically reporting that a backpack consistent with items that Brian Laundrie have had. The backpack has been discovered, and now we are hearing again from NBC that partial human remains have been found in an area that was previously underwater. As you heard JB mentioned during our last hour, we have seen a lot of the water dry up in this area. So certainly that is something that is very helpful to the search. We know that the Pasco County Sheriff's Office did send out a canine able to detect human remains. We know that the Northport Police Department that was leading the investigation. Now this is an FBI-led investigation. We know the Northport Police Department did call in the medical examiner, and now Pete Williams from NBC reporting that partial human remains have been found next to a backpack consistent with items that Brian Laundrie may have had. This is happening on October 20th, more than a month after Brian Laundrie parked that Mustang, according to his family, and got out over the scene that you're looking at right now.
Now, that's exactly what I want to talk about here. Let's talk about exactly what we're looking at here video-wise from I'm sorry?
Just the laundry's misspelled.
Yep, let's fix that. Thank you. So what we're looking at here in the Senate, this is looped video of a tent that went up. I guess it was this morning or this afternoon. It was right in the middle of our stream when Jim Hockett, our photojournalist in Eagle 8 HD, our news chopper, said, hey, in the last 5 minutes, they put up a tent. And that was significant, but we didn't know really how significant it was because could the tent have just been put up for we don't know exactly what the reason was at the time as far as the tent going up, but it was very curious. And the tent is up here. And this could be the focal point of this breaking news development that partial human remains have been found in the laundry search area and that it was near a backpack consistent with these articles, right? These articles that were said to have belonged to Brian Laundrie. I want to ask this question.
I'm sorry to interrupt.
Yeah.
I just contacted Stephen Bertolino again, and I asked him about this reporting of Pete Williams that partial human remains have been found, and he said no comments. I'm going to stop texting him for the day. The Laundrie family attorney that is, usually often answers questions. He has stopped answering questions for the day. He has no comments. So I will stop contacting him, but just wanted to give you that update, JB. Sorry to interrupt.
Here's what I want to ask to our audience, and I'm going to start taking your hashtag HeyJB, hashtag HeyMasa questions now, or really answers. Your hashtag HeyJB questions, your hashtag HeyJB, hashtag HeyMasa answers to this question in particular. And I want to ask you, everyone, you can use hashtag HeyJB, hashtag HeyMasa across Facebook, Twitter, or YouTube. Those three places, and we can animate your comment on screen. And it's this: where does everybody feel right now as far as the Justice for Gabby movement? Let's not forget that this is a story that we have all been following because of Gabby Petito, and because so many people, including myself, just want to know what happened. What is the truth? What are the facts? Are we closer to getting facts? Are we closer to getting answers? Are we closer to getting the truth now, or are we farther with these new developments? I'd like to hear from our audience who I've been interacting with over the last month plus, audience members who have been following every stream, some of you, every single stream that we have been on here. I'm asking you this question. Where are we right now as far as getting justice for Gabby Petito? I'd like to ask that, and we'll start to feature your hashtag HeyJB, hashtag HeyMasa questions and comments, or those answers coming in now. But Masa, do you want to chime in before we start to bring those in?
I think the fact that human remains have been found now in the search area, I think that is obviously a huge development. The fact that articles belonging to Brian Laundrie have been found, according to Stephen Bertolino, that is a huge development. Again, I will not be the one to get ahead and, say that Brian Laundrie, it seems like if we're getting closer to finding information out about a person of interest in this case. Okay, Brian Laundrie, what we can safely say is law enforcement believes that he has information. So the fact that there's all this development with, finding articles that belong to him, that we can place him at this location, that would certainly be one step closer to getting justice for Gabby Petito. But law enforcement has said nothing other than, Brian Laundrie is a person of interest in this case, that he's wanted for debit card fraud, for using Gabby Petito's debit card after she went missing, after he departed away from her between August 27th to August.
These comments are very interesting. I see them already starting to come in. We're going to start to feature some of them. Let's just preface this by saying that we do not know that Brian Laundrie had direct connection to Gabby Petito's death. We still don't know that answer. That's what I'm saying, folks. I want answers. You want answers. We want the truth. We want to know exactly what happened. And I don't know these new developments now. Masa, let me just kind of, we're going to animate these comments. I'm giving everybody another moment here because there's some people that type a little bit slower into their keyboards, or they're writing a very eloquent response, and maybe it's more of a paragraph, but I want to give everybody the opportunity to respond here. There are so many people overwhelmingly that have said to this point that they thought that Brian Laundrie was going to be found alive.
Right.
And we can't say definitively whether or not, with, again, partial human remains found in the Laundrie search area, but there are just so many people out there that are probably just sitting back in their chairs and at a loss for words because they were so certain that Brian was going to be found alive. And here we are, and now this news tips the scale a bit as far as whether or not Brian Laundrie is going to be found alive.
He could still be found alive, yep, because there's no identification of anything at this point, but I understand what you're saying, absolutely.
So let's get to some of the questions and comments, and then what we'll do. Actually, the time is 2:00. We have to, I think, swap you out for...
I have to go. Thank you so much for being here with us today. We appreciate all of your comments. We hope that you appreciate our reporting. It's now 2:00, so I have to go get ready for our shows on Channel 8 at 4, 5, and 6. We have live team coverage for you, so I do hope you'll tune in, and I'll hand it over to our investigator, Walt Plateau. Hi, Walt, my friend.
Well, you guys are going to have to switch seats. I think Walt, you're going to have to switch seats. Welcome to live streaming, folks. Everybody, welcome into our stream. 8 on your side, senior investigator Walt Buteau. Walt?
Just a surprising development, obviously, because it's sort of, I think by Monday and Tuesday, the headlines had sort of become, real sort of, for lack of a better word, fringe type stories. Like people were searching for angles, if you will, and it seemed like the search had died down, and then out of nowhere today. What a development. What do you think, JB?
I'm still processing. I'm just going to be honest. I'm processing all of this. I think that as a journalist, you prepare yourself for different outcomes and different scenarios, and you think about all the ways that it could go, but until it actually happens, it's hard for you to really process just for yourself. I'm very, very much ready to report the information that is coming into the newsroom, very much ready to go live with any developments that occur here, we're equipped to handle the next several hours, Walt. But just as far as how I'm processing all of this, I don't even know if I've had a moment to take a break and just think about this really. But I look forward to sharing some thoughts once we're done with this stream, and I'll try to do so on some other social media channels.
And,
but
it's been exactly 1 month, almost a month and a day since the body was found, and over a month since Gabby Petito was reported missing. She was reported missing on the 11th, and a month and 20 days since Brian Laundrie returned from their trip there, and in the white van, in Gabby Petito's white van, the white van captured on highway surveillance cameras. So and really now it's been July, August, September, almost October, 4 months since they set out on that journey that ended so tragically for Gabby Petito. And at this point, we're waiting, as Masa said, everybody's jumping to the conclusion that we think we know who this is, but we don't know anything yet. And we may not have a definitive answer unless obviously the police release that, or the FBI releases it. Does that come today? It possibly comes today. But at this point, we're showing you sort of what we know. We know that that the FBI in full force is out there. The medical examiner has gone out there, and we have reports from NBC's Pete Williams that what appears to be partial remains have been found in the Carlton Reserve in an area that was previously underwater. The remains were found near a backpack consistent with items Brian Laundrie may have had, and we know the parents were out there this morning as well.
Let's bring up my audio here again. What appears to be partial human remains, let me make that very, very clear for our audience joining us here. What appears to be partial human remains have been found in the Carlton Reserve in an area that was previously underwater. Well, before you sat down, I was asking folks to answer a question. I very much care what people have to say, especially those people that have been joining for so many of our live streams. And I know so many people have been reaching out to you on your WFLA Walt accounts, and people that have just been really just grappled into this story and just couldn't not see all, or couldn't miss a stream is what I'm trying to say.
Right.
And
right.
for those people, I'm really curious to hear what you have to say as to where are we now as far as justice for Gabby. Let's get to some of the questions, or excuse me, I always say that, the answers to that question. And we'll start here with Chelsea Cunningham. #HJB, justice will not be served if that is his body that has been found. He needs to answer to what he did to her. Give her family closure. And this is, I'm going to share as many of these as I can. Courtney Taylor, #HJB, there is no justice. The family will never have answers now. This is not justice, is one from Courtney. And I'll take one more here from Stacy before we address some of these, and then we'll take more. Stacy Hens, #HJB, #Masa, I don't feel like any justice is close, especially if he is, in fact, dead. And this, now justice now, this all goes back to what Chris and Roberta knew about Gabby Petito. What did, if anything, Cassie Laundrie know about Gabby Petito? And there's going to be so many developments now here as far as is there even partial justice for Gabby? Is there something that can occur as far as down the line, way down the line, something that feels like justice for Gabby Petito? If, again, and it's very important to not connect the dots, and we're staying rooted in reality here, but this is based on what our commenters are saying here, Walt. They just don't feel like justice is all that close as far as the justice for Gabby Petito movement.
Well, from the definition of justice, there is no justice, because this case, if the body is Brian Laundrie, will not be adjudicated in any way. So I agree with that. I will tell you, if you're looking for, I don't know, if you're looking for something about what this means down the line, the Gabby Petito Foundation, people can take their frustration out with donations to the Gabby Petito Foundation to help other parents
Yes.
find other children. And I'm sure that foundation, from what we've been told of the Petitos and Nicole Schmidt, her mom, I would bet that foundation ends up doing something about domestic abuse, because this starts with a case of alleged domestic abuse. You could say from both. Gabby admitted hitting him. And there were witnesses that saw him make contact with her, and we have friends of hers that said it was an abusive relationship. So all those things, yeah, I get where the frustration that people have, but at this point, it's really, I think, a lot about the survivors too, the parents, and I would be interested in hearing what they have to say about this, obviously.
Yeah, and I look forward to my next conversation with.
By the way, on that, so not to interrupt, JB, on this comment, though, I think we will know more about what truly happened. We'll know a lot more. We'll know who this body is at some point, maybe today. We will know how this person died. We will know more about how Gabby died. The FBI will continue and release some of those details, I'm sure. So do we know the microcosms of this particular relationship? We don't, and we never will, if that is Brian Laundrie. But we do know some things, and there is a way, I think, to make this mean something, if only domestic abuse awareness and awareness of other missing children. Right? That's
those
come
two.
out.
That's what I was going to hone in on.
Yeah.
Really, the Gabby Petito Foundation is going to help the families of other missing people. And this is about, the family has been saying that really, I mean, ever since, like, days after, or immediately after, it felt like immediately after Gabby's remains were found, that this was all about preventing future tragedy. What can we do to prevent future tragedies? The Gabby Petito Foundation, that is their core mission. And yes, they're going to be exploring some of the different conversations that need to be had publicly, widely, around the world. But this right now, this stings. This stings because I just know, and I'll tell you why it stings. It doesn't sting for me. I'm just thinking about all the people out there that sent me so many countless messages that Brian Laundrie would be found, that he would be found alive, and that we would get exact answers, specific answers as to what happened in the pursuit of justice. And let me make this clear. Right now, we have what appears to be partial human remains found in the Laundrie search area. We have the backpack. Yes, we have the belongings, the articles that were found in the same area. Yes, we have all of that. And we don't know, we can't say right now that it is in fact Brian Laundrie until we have that information from a credible news source. However, I'm just thinking about all those people out there that are just at a loss for words and wanted a different outcome. And I want to ask those people, channel your efforts as much as you can into exactly what Walt is talking about, into having those conversations, the Gabby Petito Foundation, anything that we can do to help out the families of missing people in America or around the world. I know that our parent company, Nexstar, they have News Nation. News Nation's Brian Enton is a colleague of ours. News Nation, of course, a new network channel. It's not left, it's not right, it's down the middle. We talk about News Nation here. But News Nation has launched a Missing in America series. It is it's us taking exactly what you're talking about very seriously, as far as doing everything that we can to aid in the future the families of missing people, to help prevent future tragedies. So to everybody out there that is in likely disbelief over this news, or just still processing all this news, let's all keep that in perspective, and let's try to not forget what we're feeling right now, not forget these moments, because it could help us channel energy towards future solutions to prevent future tragedies. Let's get to some more of the questions and comments that are coming in. Rachel Elizabeth, #HJB. I think this is a step back. If he is found dead, there is no justice. We may never know. But Walt, to your point, there's likely more that the FBI knows that we haven't been privy to that information.
We will know more. I'm not sure.
We'll find out more. But
we'll find out more.
Yeah.
Is it? I mean,
and let's make this clear too. I want to point out this harsh reality. If Brian Laundrie is found or was to be found alive, there is no indication that we would ever learn the truth. How many situations of a high-profile nature, somebody been caught for an alleged crime, been convicted of said crime, and never, ever given the opposite family closure on had transpired their loved one? There's so many people that have been put behind bars that just refuse to give details or refuse to give information and do not want to concede information as to what they did to that particular victim. And so even if Brian Laundrie was found, even if he was discovered to be alive, it's no guarantee that we ever know the truth of what happened to Gabby Petito. He could invoke his constitutional right to remain silent, and he could take it to the grave. He could take it to his very last breath. And so we're not closer to justice.
And what is the justice for, then you'd start, if you dissect it, what is the justice? What would the justice have been? That he goes to jail, the death penalty? I have said this before. People bring up the word closure. I've talked to, sadly, far too many parents of victims, various types of victims. None of them have ever really used the word closure. We throw it out there. It's a cliche. I know we think that, but imagine losing your loved one. I don't know if there really is closure. Does it make it easier for the parents if they see Brian Laundrie in court? I guess it does. But at this point, the tragedy is horrifying in itself, and this development frustrating. I get it. It's frustrating. We will know more, but I don't know if we'll ever would have known enough because of how this trip started with smiles and a happy couple, and how it ended just the exact opposite of that. It's a stunner from day one, really.
A bit of breaking news. We talk all the time about how the FBI doesn't release updates. That's not their thing. Just not what they do. They're the Federal Bureau of Investigations, and they're not in the business of providing updates. They're in the business of announcing results in a particular investigation. And even then, sometimes those announcements can be hollow as far as what we learn publicly. But the FBI just tweeted, and that's significant. Let me just before I tell you what they tweeted, the fact that the FBI is saying something in and of itself is a massive development, because the FBI hasn't said anything. The FBI tweeted, a response team is there for quote unquote items of interest at the Carlton Reserve. Items of interest, and that came in about 4.5 minutes ago.
The FBI has used Twitter a lot in this case. I believe they broke the story about the charges.
Yes, they
on
did.
Twitter, correct? Very interesting, and I think I was stunned earlier. I did a story involving the FBI last week, but it was the local FBI, and we'll get a response from them, but it's usually I cannot confirm nor deny. The Denver FBI their public information officers must have been inundated with questions, and they did respond to us earlier. They said they couldn't comment, but I would point out, they did point out that a lot of their releases at that point would be on Twitter, and there you go. Items of interest were located at the Carlton Reserve this morning in connection with the search for Brian Laundrie. We just retweeted it, but yeah, and they have it as a news alert from the FBI. So
a response team is there for the items of interest that we've been talking about, and I want to know how these items were discovered. There was talk on social media before you got on stream here, Walt. We had comments on screen, people who were alleging that this was planted, that the information came in.
More breaking news?
No, I'll address this here in a moment.
There's been so many of those. It opens your eyes to the skepticism that's out there. These theories that some of them I would have to say ridiculous. As far as the items being planted, what would be the motive? Did the person express a motive?
So the idea would be, and I know our commenters well enough to say that the idea was that the people were saying everywhere across all platforms. I have it here across my screens. Comments, people were saying that the items, the articles that Stephen Bertolino is referring to could have been planted by Chris and Roberta Laundrie to throw off law enforcement as far as the search for their son Brian. And now that we have these partial, or what appears to be partial, human remains found here, I don't see any comments like that anymore. That it was deliberate, that it was intentional, that it was an intended misdirection. I just don't see anything like that anymore. As we're awaiting some, Walt, I'm going to keep you on the mic here for a second. I have to step away for just a second.
Okay. So let me bring everybody up to date. This morning, the FBI reported that some items of interest were found in the, I'm going to butcher this pronunciation, the Myakkahatchee Creek Environmental Park. That is right next to Carlton Reserve. I believe they're actually connected, so to speak, or adjacent to each other. We can tell you the size of that park is 160 acres, heavily wooded. So initially, the FBI is talking about finding a backpack with items that seem to be consistent with things that Brian would have. And then now we hear from NBC reporting that human remains were found near the backpack. Also, the family of Brian Laundrie was out there this morning, and the attorney in that case released a statement that I'm going to read to you here in 2 seconds. Stephen Bertolino writing, let me pull it up. Come on. Stephen Bertolino writing, it's not responding. Stephen Bertolino, though, detailed exactly what the parents were doing out there this morning. And then, of course, now in the early afternoon or late morning, really, I think we broke the story, at least locally, that it seemed like this activity had picked up to a great extent there in Myakkahatchee River, the River Creek area, which, again, right next to Carlton Reserve. They touch each other. Carlton Reserve, 25,000 square acres, I believe, and this one is 100 or acres, I should say, and this one is 160 acres. So it's dwarfed by the other location, but they end up finding these human remains, we're hearing from NBC, in an area that was wet, not wet anymore.
The fact that the water receded could be the key development that Mother Nature provided what was necessary for this discovery. I think that it's not lost on any of us here in the newsroom, and I just had some conversations here for the first time in more than 2 hours, actually just leaving my chair and having some conversations. It's not lost on anybody that all the news reports that have been coming in and speaking to law enforcement officials and senior law enforcement sources, that they all talk about how this was an area that was underwater at one point.
Right.
The water receding, and it receding to a point where it is no longer you're like stepping in mud. There's
it's not
actual
an impediment anymore. They were right. I mean, and that's huge. And I guess we are we're getting out of our wet season right here in Florida.
We are.
Hasn't rained a lot lately. And Mother Nature playing a role. So one thing we will find out, the big thing is obviously that we need to know, and we will find out eventually from police. Do they believe that these remains are Brian Laundrie's? Right now, we only know the proximity of the remains found near a backpack that had items that would that might have been Brian Laundrie's. The parents were out there to possibly identify those items, so we know that. But one thing we will find out after we find out who these remains are, we'll also find out a theory about how long the remains have been there. And that's going to be very interesting, right? Because time of death, they were able to nail down Gabby Petito's time of death, it seems, to what amounts to a 2 or 3 day period, sometime between the 27th, when she sent that quote odd text to her mother about Stan, and the 30th, when Brian Laundrie, according to the FBI, started using what we now know is Gabby Petito's debit card. So if they're able to do that, I think the same thing will happen here. We'll have some knowledge about a theory about when these remains perished.
We all want answers. We're about to get more answers, at least visually. Eagle 8 HD back in the air and heading to the scene. Folks, let me explain how this is going to work, because we do have to reset as far as our live stream here on WFLA Now. So let me explain how this is going to work. YouTube, we're not going anywhere. WFLA.com, we're not going anywhere. We're staying live. The WFLA app, if you're watching on the WFLA app, we're not going anywhere. To our Facebook audience, we are ending a stream here. We're ending the current live stream. We have to do that. There's reasons why we end in certain places, begin in others, and there's folks way smarter than myself that understand the purposes behind that. But it's always about engaging an audience and as many people as possible, so that as many people can find our streams. And we are going to be, in a moment, concluding our stream just for a period of time of a few minutes. We're going to be ending the stream on Facebook for Eagle 8 HD's arrival here at Myakkahatchee. We're going to have new crystal clear images to show you what is going on with all the mobile command units that have descended there on Myakkahatchee. What is going on with that tent, that area with the tent that has been erected and set up there, likely in the area where something was found. We're going to find out a whole lot more visually from Eagle 8 HD. But on Facebook here, folks, we have to reset. We're going to be stepping away for a portion of 10 minutes to our WFLA.com and WFLA app audience, 10 minutes. We're stepping away. To our YouTube audience, we'll be stepping away for just 10 minutes. The stream doesn't end on YouTube. It only ends, like the actual stream itself ends on Facebook. But we're back up on Facebook in 10 minutes time, roughly, with the update with Eagle 8 HD's arrival. So, folks, we're going to stay here with you from Eagle 8 HD. Walt and I are going to be stepping away. We're staying live on YouTube, on WFLA.com, the WFLA app, but we are going to be saying farewell to this Facebook audience to introduce you to a new Facebook live stream here within the next 10 minutes. Whatever Facebook page that you are watching on right now, for our Facebook audience specifically, will be live here with an additional stream here momentarily. But you can also always find us on the WFLA Facebook page or the WFLA JB Facebook page. We're live in those two places, and we'll be back here live in about 10 minutes time here on WFLA Now.
Sally, right? They decide to take a break like right now, you guys. Like, what the hell? Let me go to Twitter and see if there's any updates right there. Hold on, guys. The 10-minute. Yes, I know. Hold on. And thank you guys for being here with me. This obviously was not a planned live or anything like that. I was actually researching the Mohawk murders and editing that video that's been overdue. Let me see. So what are you guys thinking? So we do know, let me take that comment off really quick. Hold on. Yeah, I've been working that's why I've been kind of quiet on my YouTube channel. Whenever I'm quiet, it's usually because I'm like deep into research. Hold on, let me take that off. Hold on, guys. Let's see. And that's why, because when I'm like researching, I'm like, I don't like to talk to anybody. I'm just like all in the research. So yeah, I've been working on a video it should have been done by Monday, but I'm just they have a private investigator helping now, and the family is doing more interviews. So we're getting more little details with it. But what are you guys thinking with this one? I'm going to Twitter to see. Do you think it's Brian's body that is found? The human remains, do you think it's Brian's? I mean, what we've heard is the family. What did the lawyer, let me see. Let's see, vendors. So the lawyer said in a statement that Chris and Roberta went. They let law enforcement know last night that they wanted to go out there today to search. The FBI was aware of it, and they were there with them. And then we find out that some articles were found that the family confirmed to be Brian's. Now we find out, then we see the medical examiner pulling up. We see the tent go up. There's a table in there. And we're just wondering what's going on. Now we find out that partial human remains, have been found near a backpack, possibly Brian's. Well, if the family's already come out and said that articles were found of Brian's, and then we have the medical examiner there. I'm just going to put this out there right now. Then I'm going to think that that is possibly Brian's human remains. Then. It could be somebody else. If it is somebody else, I'm not sure. Is anybody missing around that area recently? But the way it's unfolding, I'm almost certain that it's going to end up being Brian. But I just honestly thought Brian would be found alive. Like I think if anything, he would have went out. Suicide by cop. That's what I always felt. So I don't even know what to say. Yeah, they have found other bodies, but it hasn't been like this. I agree, Moonmaid. Brian possibly stole some poor guy's identity. Oh, Joanne, I wouldn't put anything past that. Sally says he's alive. You believe he's still alive? I mean, it is kind of strange that, okay, so the family contacts law enforcement and says they want help with the search again. They go out to the search and then articles are found. Did the family find the articles or who found the articles? Because the family came across the articles, I'm just like, okay. I don't know. It's strange, but I feel like with this case there are some stuff that are just strange. I don't know. It just seems strange. But that's where we're at right now. Partial human remains have been found near a backpack, possibly belonging to Brian. Let's see. Is Brian Enton at the house still? Let's see. I'm going to go to my Twitter really quick, you guys. Hold on. Brian Enton, where are you when we need you? Let's see. No, he hasn't put nothing. He put something 15 minutes, but it's just the FBI update, which we already heard. I'm just checking my Twitter for everybody, see what everybody is putting out so far. Yeah, Delana, I think so too. He's definitely not good under pressure. He's a coward, not a Navy SEAL. Yeah, I agree. And you got to remember too, I know what one of his friends, I believe, said that he can possibly be, he went out for like a month or something and lived off some kind of berry or something like that. But this is different. He is wanted. Well, not wanted like that, but he's a person of interest. Right? He knows everyone is searching for him. I can't picture him just sleeping like a baby at night. I mean, I feel like he would possibly be sleeping with one eye open, if anything. I kind of thought, I know some people thought he possibly could have been with somebody, like just in a house, and, and I was even thinking that. Ocean says, dead or alive, he wouldn't tell us what happened. That's a good point. That I kind of feel like, I don't know though. I don't know. You think the parents were happy helping him? Do you guys think the parents were helping? But how were they helping him? Do you think they were going out? I mean, they were being watched like crazy. Anyone, how do you do a hashtag and when it is it again? I'm on chemo, so things are a little... Aw, Verna, I'm sorry you're on chemo right now. How are you feeling, love? I've been there, so make sure you're drinking lots of water. to ask, are you talking about for WFLA? How to get a question to them? They said they were watching. They said they knew where he was, and then we find out he's missing. Gone. Sorry, not missing. That's what the family wants us to believe. Someone has spotted Brian this morning with a female. There's been a lot of spottings of Brian out there. But I think this is what we're hearing today is very interesting. I do believe it's very interesting. Partial human remains near a backpack, possibly might be Brian's. And then again, we hear that the family went out there and some articles were found of Brian's, and now we hear this. So it's kind of like, for me, 1 + 1 is 2 for me. So, and then of course, WFLA has to go out and refill. So I know you guys are going to be really, really upset with me, but I'm going to have to cut this stream because I myself, it's 11:34. It's Wednesday. You guys know I have to go get my daughter. It's early out. So I will try to get back on stream again, or possibly maybe Amanda could go live in a little bit. This is definitely important right now, what's going on. So I'm going to try to get back on. Yeah, it's Wednesday, so you know, early out day for me. But I thought this was important, so I wanted to just go live and get to this. So WFLA is on a 10-minute break right now. They're going to be back streaming. And again, what we know so far, partial human remains have been found. No confirmation if it's Brian's yet, but it was found near a backpack. And we know the family, they were out there helping with the search for Brian, and then articles were found of Brian. So I don't know. We'll see. You have early out too? I know it's Wednesday, early out for us. So I'll keep you guys updated. I'll try to get back on here after. If I can't, then, you know, I'll be watching WFLA. I'll be in their chat. So that's where I'll be. I'm sure everyone's streaming right now this. So again, thank you guys for being here. And yeah, I don't even know. Do you guys want this to be Brian? I don't even know what to say. Ugh. All right. Thank you guys for being here again. I adore all of you guys, my mods, everybody. You're addicted to breaking news. Sure. Yeah, I did not expect this at all. So thank you guys again for being here, and I will talk to you guys next time. You'll see me around. I'm going to be in chats today because if I can't go live again, I'll be in someone's chat. So thank you guys for being here. Bye.